Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Selene and today we are doing my June TBR. So this TBR today is going to be a big one. Basically the reason why this TBR is so big is A, I'm indecisive, B, I'm rereading a series in July. I probably won't have time to read other ebooks, and I really need to read some magazines in July because the pile is getting out of hand again. So yeah, I think we should probably just get on with it. So we are going to start with physical books like always. So the first book that I have, When Women Ruled the World, 6 Queens of Egypt by Cooney. This is written by Egyptologist Cooney. The book basically tells the story of, I think, well, 6 different queens of Egypt and how they came to power, how they stayed in power, and what their reigns were like and all that kind of stuff. So this book also not only explores female pharaohs, but it also explores female leadership as a whole throughout time and in the modern world. This is very feminist based. I love nonfiction and history, so I'm actually pretty excited to pick this one up. The next book I want to read is a very highly anticipated release for many. It's also been really hyped up, but a lot of people have been divided on this book. I'm going to be reading Daisy Jones and the Six by Jenkins Reid. Plenty of you probably already know the plot. It's basically told in an interview kind of format, and it's based around the band, but mostly Daisy. Based in the 70s, rock and roll, drugs, sex, that kind of stuff. So I am excited to read this. It feels like it's going to be a really quick read because of the interview format, so it's like really chunky. A lot of people say the audiobook for this is great, but I just can't sit through audiobooks and listen. Like, I'm not a busy person doing things all the time. I'm usually lying in bed, so it's easier for me to read a physical book. We shall see what I think of it. I'm actually going to be doing a reading vlog on this one. So next we have The Lost City of Z by Grann. This is a nonfiction book as well, and it follows the story of, I was going to say Percy Jackson. Percy Fawcett, the explorer. He went into the Amazon and claimed to have found a lost civilization. He was an ex-military man, so he's pretty good in the jungle. This was a time when Europe was like obsessed with exploration and lost cities and all that stuff. So Percy Fawcett actually went back into the jungle to kind of bring back proof that he had found a lost civilization, but he ended up mysteriously vanishing and nobody knows what happens to him, but there have been speculations. So there actually is a movie to this. I have it right here. I've seen the movie, have it. It's a really great movie. I really love it. It has Charlie Hunnam, I don't know how to pronounce that. And you got Robert Pattinson, Sienna Miller, Tom Holland. This is a really good movie. I really enjoyed it, but I also love nonfiction, so there's probably going to be a vast difference between the movie and the book. I really enjoyed reading The Lost City of the Monkey God by Douglas Preston, so I'm kind of in that there. I want to read more exploration nonfiction kind of novels, so this one will be great. And then the last book that I hope to get to, The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. Now, I'm glad that I found this at a thrift store because I would never ever buy a book from this guy. If you don't know the controversy with him, he's basically a psychopathic liar, and he pretended to have many different illnesses. And well, I'm someone with chronic illnesses, and I take issue with people faking having certain illnesses because it makes it harder for people who do have real legitimate illnesses to be believed. Other than that, this has been a super hyped up thriller, and I want to see what the hype is all about pretty much. I hope to read it. It's a huge book, and there's deckled edges, so it makes me really hate it even more. So it's like 400 pages, absolutely gigantic for a thriller. Those were all the physical. We're gonna get on to the ebooks. So the first ebook I plan to read is actually kind of like a non-fiction, it's like a short non-fiction book. This is Hypatia, Her Life and Times by Faith aGirlWithBookss. This is the story of Hypatia, the lady philosopher, mathematician, I think I'm saying that right, and astronomer. This is from Hellenistic times in Alexandria. Love reading about Hypatia. If you don't know who she is, please look her up. She is just quite extraordinary what she accomplished for a woman in her time period and in that society. Like, it's just amazing. But ultimately she did meet a very tragic and really brutal ending. This would be a reread for me because I have read it before, but because I'm going to read the next book I'm going to talk about, this is why I'm reading it. So the next book I'm going to read is Selene of Alexandria by Faith aGirlWithBookss. This does feature a fictional Hypatia in the story, so that's why I'm reading the one before it. So basically this is a story of a young girl, I think she's like 17, and she wants to become a doctor, but of course this is set in Hellenistic Alexandria where women are the property of men. So she sets out to try and become a doctor in this very restrictive time period for women. And yeah, I have read this before. I did rate it 5 stars previously. I'm interested to see if my rating of this book will actually change or if I'll love it just as much. I remember that the writing and the researching of this book was just spectacular and it just blew me away, and I ended up really loving this. It's one of my favorite books, so hopefully it will stay a favorite book. The next book that I hope to read is The Oyster Thief by Sonia Faruqi. This is the story of a young mermaid under the sea, and a oil spill takes place. Her younger sister gets sick and she has to go and find this here elixir that will supposedly heal her, while alternatively you have a human man that goes into the ocean searching for, I am presuming, the same elixir to help heal his ailing father. And I don't know if this is like a spoiler, but he's actually the son of the man responsible for the oil spill. So that'll be interesting. The next book I want to read is The Final Girls by Riley Sager. So basically this is the story about young people who experience a very horrific and terrible horror movie kind of like event, and this is like the aftermath. They're dealing with this. They got like PTSD and stuff, and this killer attacked more than one group of people. So one of the first final girls ends up murdered, and they have to figure out why she was murdered, who did it, and of course the other character that centers this story is, you know, trying to stay alive kind of thing. So yeah, this book has gotten a lot of hype. A lot of people love this thriller, so I'm excited to see what I think about it as well. Next we have The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery. This is the story of Valency. She's about 29 to 30 years old, and her life is basically controlled by her parents. She has no individuality, she has no freedom, and when she receives a shocking diagnosis, she sets out to kind of live her own life and find love. So this is actually one of the few adult novels that L.M. Montgomery wrote. She happens to be one of my favorite writers. I'm quite excited to read this one. Next we have The Song of Achilles by Madeleine Miller. This is basically a retelling of Troy, but through the eyes of Achilles. That should be interesting. A lot of people have hyped this up after reading Circe. A lot of people say it's better than Circe. I've been meaning to read this book for a very long time, and I was happy when it came on sale and I was able to purchase it. So here in Canada, June 21st happens to be National Indigenous Peoples Day. There's 3 books that I'm deciding on whether I'm going to read or not. There's 2 that I'm not so sure of. I don't know what I'll be in the mood for. but this one for certain I will be reading. This is Wenjack by Joesph Boyden. This is basically a short story that reads very poetical and kind of metaphorical. This is a story following a young Ojibwe boy who runs away from his residential school and tries to make his way back home. Now this story is actually based off of a true story, so I expect to probably cry while reading this because it'll be a very heavy topic. And the next ones that I'm kind of debating on whether or not to read, I either want to read The Inconvenient Indian by Thomas King or There by Tommy Orange. An Inconvenient Indian is basically a layman's history of the history of indigenous peoples in North America. And There is a multi-generational story about violence, recovery, memory, and identity involving First Nations people in, I think it's in the States. So I'm either going to read one of those, it's just I want to read both of them, but it just kind of depends if I'm going to be in the mood for a very heavy-hitting contemporary. Rarely strikes, but maybe I will be in the mood. It's probably more likely I'll be reading The Inconvenient Indian, but we shall see. So the next book I do also want to read, another thriller, because I am in the thriller mood a little bit this month, is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Again, a lot of people have hyped this one up, saying it's like one of the best thrillers they read. I think this is like a blend of thriller and sci-fi, which is something I haven't read a lot of, so I'm really interested and intrigued to see what this book is all about. I'm not even going to attempt to explain it because, I mean, I read the description of it, but like, I don't know how to put it into words. So the next book that I hope to read is The Visitors by Sally Bauman. This book is kind of set in Egypt. These two little girls are in Egypt during a time of great discovery in Tutankhamen's tomb, and they are really great friends, but something happens to their friendship, so years later they try to figure out what exactly went wrong and they try to repair that friendship. So this seems like a very interesting story. I definitely want to read it because of the setting in Egypt. I love Egyptology, as you saw earlier, and yeah, I just think this will be a really nice, light, historical fiction book. So those are all the books I want to read this month. That was 14 books in total. I totally do not expect to get to all of these books. We are still doing renovations, and my room is probably the one that's going to be renovated next. So I'll probably be getting all new furniture, which I would have to put together. My walls are going to be painted. I'm going to be getting new flooring. So I literally have to take everything out of my room and then put it back in. And yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to get read, but I know there are going to be days where I'm going to be stuck in bed reading. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know. You can go ahead and subscribe. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter. I'll have all those links listed below, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!